You're live.
Hey, welcome back, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions. It is Wednesday, February 4th. We're at our 3 o'clock meeting and we're shifting gears. We have corrections in front of us. And last year we spent quite a bit of time with our colleagues in next door. I don't even remember what the name of that committee is. Digital. I can't remember what the name of the committee is.
Digital infrastructure.
Is it digital infrastructure?
Yep.
No, is it?
Yeah, energy and digital.
Yeah,
infrastructure.
energy and
ID.
digital. And we sent a letter to the broadband group that made decisions on money to be distributed to enhance broadband coverage. And one of the proposals was for some of that money to go to connections. So for the installation of Wi-Fi within our facilities. We have done work in terms of knowing where the hotspots are. We did that during COVID. So now the question is, how do we get Wi-Fi into our correctional facilities? So I'm turning it over to both of you and DOC, so I don't know who's going first. Just introduce yourself.
I'll pick us up. Kristen Calvert, Deputy Commissioner.
And Travis Denton, I am Chief of Operations for Vermont DOC.
Okay.
So we have 2 slides for you today, very in-depth, but I'll have Travis just give folks kind of the quick background and the reason why we need Wi-Fi.
Sure, yeah.
And then I'll walk through the timeline of where we are today.
Great, thanks, Kristen. Sorry to step on you there. Yeah, just a quick background. This is not a new thing for this group, I'm sure. But we've got limited cellular service. Some of that's just a prospect of the communities that some of these facilities are in. And then, of course, 6 feet concrete, and this, that, and the other thing. A cellular option is not viable. And there's no Wi-Fi outside of some very, like our Ristock network for our education classrooms, which is proprietary and not something that we can access for staff needs. And then, of course, our tablets for our incarcerated population, same thing, proprietary, can't access for a bunch of different cybersecurity related things. Things that we would benefit from Wi-Fi, there's a list on your slides of a few things, but from the hip, the way I would, I guess, conceptualize Wi-Fi is there's a dam in front of a ton of progress that we would want to make that would really modernize how corrections operates. There's a lot of good ideas out there. Vermont likes to try to be in the front lead in this space whenever we can. So whether it's access to attorneys, whether it is, health and wellness bracelets, tablets for officers that connect with the tablets from the incarcerated. So there's a quick turnaround with those old school paper communications. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And there are so many mousetraps out there that folks would love us to look at that are all built on this whole Wi-Fi access as the base to even launch.
How much is done through paper because of lack of Wi-Fi that you could do electronically?
I mean, a lot, less than there used to be, for sure, in certain areas, especially where we do have the tablet access. We've tried to modernize grievances, for example. We would love to have request forms and medical requests and all these other things. We've launched some of that. We've flipped to that in many spaces. There's so much more that we could do. But paper is the enemy, so to speak, and it's something that we still rely on pretty heavily.
Are we losing correctional staff, COs at all because it's so cumbersome for them to keep track of the data that they accumulate or reports that they have to submit? Do we lose staff because of that?
I have an opinion about that. I don't know that we have that hard data to say that, exit interviews, there's lots of different reasons. But what we do have is we have a new generation of staff coming up. They're coming in. They're, as a Gen Xer, the fact that I'm talking about Wi-Fi is a little, interesting. I'm a very low tech guy, so glad to be here. But those new staff that we bring in come in with a skill set that surpasses many of ours. And I think there is a untold number of people that maybe would be turned off to the work because of the more archaic analog nature. And then there's also a bit of steam in that new staff that have ideals about how we could be better. And then they run into the same barrier that we're talking about today, which is, why aren't we doing this smarter at my house? I can talk to my wall and my microwave turns on. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't translate.
Does not compute.
Does not compute.
Kevin and then James.
Maybe I didn't understand. I thought you said that the tablets gave you opportunity, but how does a tablet help you if you don't have Wi-Fi?
I was talking about the one example of opportunities that are out there that we can't access
Oh,
yet.
can't.
Access yet. Yeah, if there was a corresponding tablet system for staff that worked well and communicated with what we have.
I got you.
Yeah, gotcha.
James and then Troy.
So we've talked about Wi-Fi last year, and I know it was way before I ever got here in this committee. But you mentioned something that Sven mentioned before, just tripping me up. So do you need more, like, so you already have a couple Wi-Fi's, right, for, medical and whatever, like, right, you got two?
So for our education division, there's a very specific curated type of Wi-Fi.
Right, so that's my point. Yeah. So is one more Wi-Fi going to help, or are you actually going to need more Wi-Fi's that are also just designated for certain, right? Because you'll have your officers, maybe you have some for the inmates. I don't know how that works. So that's one question.
And I'll, again, super techie, so I'm going to do my best to answer that. I look at, there are an array of Wi-Fi hubs that act as one kind of network, right? So by one more Wi-Fi, I mean that, I take that to mean one more Wi-Fi network. This Wi-Fi network would be state-owned, dedicated to the staff, installed, and up to all the cybersecurity codes that ADS would put upon us to make sure that the information that has access to is as highly protected as it needs to be, which is different than the other two networks that exist. There's one small network inside a very small area of each facility for the educational, the focus laptops. It's like I said, highly curated. I'm not technical enough to tell you all the ins and outs, but it's so that it's a safe version of web access for them to use. The other one is for those tablets that are owned by that tablet company. And again, those tablets are a telecommunication type of tablet. And we don't have access to that network. So one more network would really kind of complete the circle and really allow us access to all these other innovative ideas.
One more network. And so the second question is, and I remember I just can't remember what the answer was. You obviously have issues like your walls and stuff like that, but if you had the money, if for some strange reason Connor has it in his pocket, will that allow you to go and actually do this, or is there other hurdles still left other than money?
That might be a tag team answer. My understanding is because of the heat mapping work that we've done, and I believe there's at least some preliminary work with ADS talking about what they would need for technical requirements. I think that's mostly a yes, but I'm going to look to my partner.
Yeah, it's really funding at this point. I think there are certain parts of the heat mapping we would have to revisit and fine tune because we do have Wi-Fi in a couple visitation rooms, for example, or in lobbies. So that work would just have to kind of be edited a little bit to make sure it's still accurate, but really funding is the barrier.
Thank you.
And once you had the funding and installed the Wi-Fi, is there any ongoing cost or licensing fee to ADS?
There is, and that's included in the original quote that we received. It was pretty minimal.
The 3.29?
Yeah, 3.29 encompassed everything, the install, the equipment, labor, and then the ongoing operational costs, I think, was under 50,000 a year to support the networks. That is probably different at this point, given the number of years it's been, but.
Just, I want to articulate my understanding, because I don't think WellPass or medical has their own networks, right? Because I recall testimony saying, saying it would be so much easier if they had more consistent.
Yeah, they do use our wiring and we do some specific wiring for them, but it's the same.
Yeah, okay. The second question is, how long of an installation process is this if we're ready to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to. I think a lot of it might lie in the supply chain issue with getting the equipment and then securing the contractors.
So where are we right now?
Yeah,
Where are
so
we?
this slide kind of documents the timeline from where we started in May with the original heat mapping. The estimate, which is the 3.2.
That estimate is from calendar year 23.
Correct, yeah, early in the calendar year.
It's probably over 4 million now.
Probably at this point, yeah. My last outreach to the broadband board was a couple of weeks back. We had heard that the federal administration will issue new guidelines on the unused funds that exist, but they don't have that information yet. They think it'll be about March. And then at that point, we intend hopefully to be able to submit another request.
What was their reasoning for denying it last year?
That's a good question. I think my understanding was they were prioritizing digital equity like education at that point. And we were kind of prioritized with community needs having precedence over us.
So digital equity for education. And
I think education broadly, not just for the agency of education, but
education broadly, we're really, CCV is limited in terms of what they can offer, so that should have hit that criteria. I think,
You put that in the letter, I don't remember.
to get a copy of the letter. Did they give indications to come back and reapply? The board?
I think we're welcome to. I do feel like they're still open to another proposal, but we'll certainly be doing it, I think.
Is anything limited in terms of federal guidelines, in terms of where the money would go?
The old guidelines, no, that we were recognized as an underserved population, given both the population itself and the rural nature of many of our facilities. So I do think we met the criteria. It just wasn't prioritized.
So right now, the community broadband board has recommended you reapply. Are you working with Agency of Digital Services in that application?
Yeah, we absolutely will. I'd like to see the guidelines first, to understand how or what we can request.
And those guidelines should be coming down from the federals?
That's my understanding, yes.
When do you anticipate getting those? In March?
They said early March.
Is there a reimbursement possibility for that? Like FEMA reimburses, like
Oh.
you relay out the cash and then you get a grant, can we
Right.
reimburse it?
I don't know the
Like,
answer to that, but I can absolutely ask. Yeah, that's a good question.
So when are you gonna update the 3.279 million? I mean, that would have to be updated. Is there any work?
It would, I mean, we could conceivably start partnering with ADS now to see, to kind of lay out all the steps we would need to take to do that and what.
I would recommend that is to move this along pretty quickly in order to be in the pecking order for funding and do it now.
So could you go back to the first page? Yeah. Increased language access. Would that be helpful for the lawyer-client relationship, particularly for folks who are detained under ICE?
What we find whenever we innovate like this is it's a bit of a +1 theory, right? You innovate and one thing works and then all of a sudden the ideas start coming from staff, left, right, and center, and then, oh, there's another thing. So I think that would be the tip of the iceberg, and a little bit of success would create some momentum in various lanes to include the language access.
Good.
Are you having issues with language access with folks who are coming in through the Vermont court system as well? Not just ICE, but general?
I mean, it happens for sure, but it's just the concentration now is pretty critical at Northwest and at Junior.
And is it frustrating for your staff and correctional officers to know that there isn't the access to language access for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's frustrating. Everybody, they want to do a good job. They, especially once you've worked inside the facility for a little while, you want to get to your shift, and the more you can provide good communication and equal access to things, the better the shift goes. So even from that perspective, it's important. When I did my walkthrough that I think Commissioner Murad mentioned recently, I talked to staff. I was in the unit. I talked to a couple individuals who were detainees and just put myself in the shoes not only of the ICE detainee and what they encountered, but also the staff. It's a hard conversation to have, if you don't have that in your skill set to even speak any other language other than English. I found myself really at a loss to really connect with this individual, and I couldn't help but think, I bet you my phone has an app, or something like that would make this so much easier. So I think it would help immensely in every aspect of the work that we do.
So in Chittenden and then in St. Albans facility, where could folks go to have access on their phone?
Today. In St. Albans, your phone, my phone barely works in the parking lot, right? So that's just from a cellular standpoint, I don't think anywhere. At Chittenden, there's, it's South Burlington, there's robust cellular access. It gets interrupted inside of the facility though, because of the interference. It probably works a little bit in that very front office area. Aside from that, that's why you would need those Wi-Fi connections so you could use some of that equipment, but not, if we could do it off of cellular, I think we'd be doing it already. We would just have a workaround and go for it.
Is there, you get a feeling from the broadband board that if there was any state money put towards it, they would be more willing to agree?
Yeah, I have that impression, but we've also never discussed that. Do you mean as far as like putting up like match funding?
Putting some money
Yeah.
towards it on the state level? Not that we're gonna do it, but I just
Yeah.
wonder if that would be some initiative, incentive for them to say, hey, they really mean this and they put some money on the table. Mary?
So in hearing you speak, it seems as though there's been a number of questions out there that aren't answered for you. But I'm almost hearing too that you haven't necessarily reached out to try to get some of those answers. And that's why I just said, I think the sooner you're connecting with the people you're needing to move this along and get the money in place of that, it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
So I think we're all 100% behind getting this fixed. But we've got to take the steps to get there, and it's been way too long now.
Questions? Thoughts?
Think more for Haley. It'd be great if we could see like a tablet one of these days. Like, could we bring one in just to pass around and see what's on it?
Yes,
No,
probably.
We'll give it back.
We did switch tablet companies fairly recently, I
Okay,
think
good.
April of last year about, and so they are.
So they're now the antiquated quite.
And
No,
not quite, they're
it's not an iPad,
ruggedized.
but it's.
They're ruggedized
Yeah.
though, so they're a little
Yeah.
more. And without the network, I don't think we could really demonstrate how it works, but we could certainly bring one.
How robust is their network, their Wi-Fi network that they install?
I think in the installation, we've had fits and starts for sure. It was a major undertaking. But we're constantly on top of that, but it works well. There's a lot of volume.
Can the tablets be used in the individual cells?
Mhm.
And, okay, so it's possible to get a network in those facilities where the Wi-Fi is very.
And handling video,
Right.
So really kind of big ticket items
Yeah.
for that type of network.
Here's the next question to that, and it just kind of occurred to me. I've read the IC Solutions contract. One of the things that's in that contract is upon termination, the infrastructure becomes property of the state. If that were to happen, would you suddenly have a Wi-Fi network?
I don't believe the infrastructure would be extended to the actual Wi-Fi
Yeah, I'm not sure. I might have to ask ADS
hubs,
that
so to
question to
speak.
see what it would take to reconfigure it, not knowing
Would they just
about
leave
that.
a dead network? Like if.
It probably costs them more to pick it up. I think we found that with our last,
So it wouldn't be an active network.
I don't think
We,
so.
we would deactivate it, for the vendor to remove equipment. But yeah, I think that's a good question that we can ask ADS, see if that equipment would be able to be repurposed. for the-
Things like conduit and all the other
Yeah.
things that happen kind of behind the scenes, they're gonna leave
Yeah.
that, but.
Who installed it? The conduit.
It's turned into a partnered process, but the vendors did have contractor electricians that came along, and then we had to bring in BGS to make sure it was done to the proper code. A lot of lessons
Who
learned.
paid for BGS and who paid for that? Was it the vendor that paid to have it installed?
Yes, it's their responsibility to pay for the install.
Do you recall how long that took to install?
A long time. Longer than we thought. I
No,
ran into some
Yeah, probably
problems we
3
didn't
months,
anticipate. I would say.
probably 3 months to flip the system.
Yeah, and then some
Trouble
troubleshooting.
facilities.
For all the facilities, and that was, we had Viapat before that, so some of the initial work, we didn't go from having no tablets to tablets, which was, there was
Yeah.
now just a repurposing of what was there, but then finding out that you can't just plug something in and then all of a sudden turn on the microwave and the tablets don't work. There was some high level master electrician requirements that I don't know that they anticipated. So it probably took about 3 months. Now there's just ongoing meetings and maintenance.
So we don't even think about for our facilities. People think, oh yeah, there's a building there. We lock people up. Sounds good. Now we don't have to see them and we don't have to think about it. Doesn't work that way. So if you could work with the Agency of Digital Services, we start playing some groundwork. I think it might be also worthwhile to connect with the committee next door of Energy and Digital Services or whatever it's called. It might really be worth connecting. Oh, you went in there last year, got a little dicey. But, you know, if we could get them on board too, because they work directly with digital, you know, just digital services with the agency. You really need ADS as your partner.
We do, and they did the original heat mapping, so they're well aware of the project and the needs, so.
Anything else before we go on the floor at 3:30? And then I believe we'd be done. There's not much on the floor, but probably won't get done till a little bit after 4 o'clock, so. Then we're back here tomorrow morning at 8:30. For another full day. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are done for the day. Let's go off